You look like you could do for another spell. Come over to the bench and join the Benchwarmers in episode 7. In this episode, we will be covering the recent events that have just occurred in round 15. Let's start off with the incident with Sydney Stack and Callum Coleman-Jones, where both got into a fight outside of a strip club when they were supposed to stay in the hub. Josh Cuppen, what are your thoughts on this one, mate?
Not much to really say, is it? It's just a really bad look for, the club, the football, like the players, really. So, what else is there to say? 3-8, like, surely you've got better priorities than that, Obviously, it's a tough time. But, we've all had to cop it. But going to a strip club is an absolute non-essential, and and to get into a fight, obviously, is just really bad. And, although I think the sanction was quite big, I think getting sent home was the right thing to do.
Yeah, you're right. I think, for a team who's really up there in terms of contending for a premiership this year, I think it's really silly and immature from players to go out and do this type of thing. Like, they should just be sticking to the rules. They play AFL football. It's a job. It's not just a hobby they're doing on the side. So they should be following the ruls.
And that goes, it's a privilege too. It's like AFL footy is the highest level, and they've been permitted to play it. They're, especially being a Victorian club, all the Victorian leagues have been shut down. All the juniors, seniors, they have the privilege of playing footy, and they're, wasting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think along with these two players, with this incident, there was also another incident earlier in the year with Trent Cotchin's wife. It looks like Richmond really need to sort of get their things together. Like, they've really got to set some rules around the place. It looks like it's just free flowing down there. It's a bit of a mess. They're going to need to tighten it up, because if it happens again to some more quality players, there goes their chances of winning a grand final. This just brings a lot of unnecessary pressure to the playing group, and who knows if it'll affect their performance on in the year. Does anyone else have anything to touch on with that? Share their thoughts and opinions.
Well, they also got slammed again after the actual incident occurred, because the club tried to. Well, they also got $100,000 fine on top of the getting sent home, and the club tried to get the players to pay $50,000 each, I'm pretty sure, instead of them paying the sanction. So I just find that also pretty pathetic from Richmond. They've had a tough couple of months, and it's not looking too good for them on the media front, definitely.
Yeah, definitely right. We'll see what happens there. Like, it's a shame that both players can't play for the remainder of the year or remainder of the season, and also some of next season as well. And it's such a big price to pay for the Richmond Footy Club. But we'll see how they handle it, and if it keeps occurring. Let's move on now to Melbourne's loss. Now, in episode 6, our previous episode, we were actually looking at Melbourne as a real finals contender. They were in the 8 at the end of last round, and we all, I think, had them sort of there to make finals. They go into this round, round 15, and lose to Sydney by, I think it was 22 points or 20 odd points, in a real big upset. And it's really unfortunate for them, because they if they get that win, they sort of, they're probably 80% chance of playing finals, but they just couldn't get it over the line. James, what do you have to say about that one?
Yeah, I just think that for a side who gave themselves every chance to be in the top 8, just to let themselves down, and looks like they're probably just going to fall short and get knocked out. But yeah, I just think that they put in a lot of hard work throughout the year, and just to fall short, I think they'll be disappointed, and so they should be. They let their chance slip.
Yeah, you're right, mate. It's just like I said, it's really a shame because they have put so much hard work into getting to where they are. They've knocked off some of the top sides. I think they beat St Kilda the week prior or the game prior, and then to just go in and just lose such a real easy one, really, to Sydney, and just sort of put their chances of playing finals in the air. It's disappointing from a quality side. Connor, what do you have to say?
I think they almost took the opportunity of playing against Sydney for granted. I feel like they tried to manage their players a bit more, like across the ground, including Oliver and Gawn, who's just coming back from an injury, making sure he's okay. And also Petrarca, who I still think had 21 touches, but, just managing their time on the ground. But, I mean, although we're talking about Melbourne losing, full credit to Sydney and their young team, who are proving to be a little bit of a force that could potentially show some great signs in the future. They've got some great young players coming through. And I think although Melbourne lost, let's not take the shining light away from the Sydney win.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what I was going to say. Sydney, they did a great thing. They've been playing Nick Blakely like very deep in their forward line, and he's more of a midfield forward, and they freed him up on the weekend against Melbourne. They freed him up and they played him more like a midfield forward across the half forward line, and he just absolutely killed it. And their future, they have some great young players, and their future's looking real bright, I reckon.
Yeah, really good points. Definitely, I should have said it. We should not take that win away from the Sydney Swans. Maybe they just outperformed Melbourne and they've just turned a real corner. In the season. I mean, it's a great win against Melbourne, who, as we said, are a real finals contender. So all credit is being paid to Sydney there, taking nothing away from them. But then again, it is slightly disappointing from a Melbourne point of view. Let's move on to a positive note. Again, we've got Adelaide, the Adelaide Crows, who have got finally their first win of the 2020 season, and they beat the Hawthorn Hawks. Josh, I know you're very passionate about this one because last episode, I remember I agreed with you where you said we were the only ones who tipped Adelaide. We thought they were the lightning in the bottle, and yeah, they ended up proving that statement to be correct. What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly right. Lightning in a bottle was an understatement in the end. They played really good footy. Although I think Hawthorn had a bit to play. You know what I mean? Like they sort of gave it to them. Like they sort of, let him in a bit. So it was like, there. But in terms of Adelaide, they played really good-looking footy, which we haven't seen a lot of. I've seen some of the most ugly footy I've ever seen this year, like in my life, from Adelaide. But like they look like a whole different side, And yeah, lightning in a bottle, just had to happen.
Yeah, I'm a bit like Josh. I think that Hawthorn a bit undermanned going in. They've been struck with a couple of injuries. A couple of their star players are out. But yeah, full credit to Adelaide. They've been struggling all year, and to finally find that first win, definitely gives them a boost going into the next game, but also the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, like as a Carlton supporter, you just hate being down the bottom. So I can sort of relate to Adelaide this season because I've gone through it as a fan so much, just seeing my team down the bottom for so long. You sort of get really happy for the Adelaide Crows as well as their supporters, just because look, you really hate to see a team go through a whole season just winless. I mean, it's sort of, yeah, it's not a really good feel. So, like I said, it's really good to see them get a win on the board. And although they've got nothing to play for this year, it's just good, just having that winning feeling, playing out like, with your mates and getting the win, being able to sing the song is something that no player should take for granted. And Adelaide got that on the weekend. Connor,
But
you
how
can,
good? Yeah,
yeah.
how good for the coach? I mean, he's been struggling all year. You know,
He really
a
drew
lot of things have been thrown his way, and to get your first win as a coach against the Hawks and in Alistair Clarkson. I mean, that says a bit. I mean, I know the Hawks haven't played their best footy this year, but I thought it's great for him going forward. Just that little confidence boost, as you guys mentioned before.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think just like you said, Marwan, they haven't got a lot to play for the rest of the year, but definitely if they can get on, at least a little roll and start playing the footy that they want to play, it'll definitely carry on through their pre-season and into next year. So I think it's an important time for Adelaide to, find their form, give their younger players who they're trying to look at an opportunity while they can to develop them for next year. So I think it's a big opportunity for the club, and hopefully they can, get another win on the board.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, go for it.
The Adelaide coach, Matthew Nix, is the only AFL coach to get their first coup win against Alice Clarkson. It's a bit of an ESPN stat, but
what a useless stat. What a silly thing to say.
How good Alistair Clarkson is. It's a pretty good win, first win for him.
Thanks, Sonny. Yeah, thanks. Real good.
I think Connor touched on that one earlier, mate. Thanks for restating useless information. But look, thanks for that, Sonny. We love you here on the Benchwarmers, mate. It's familiar territory. It's familiar territory for you here on the bench. But no, I'm just joking, mate. We love you. But look, let's move on. Let's move on. You know what, Sonny? Because I feel bad for you, and I'm going to ask you to take the reins of this next topic. The grand final is being played at
the Gabba. It's a weird game at the Gabba, weird oval.
It is. What are your thoughts on the grand final being played on the Gabba this year?
I don't know. I like it. I like the switch up, not necessarily playing in WA where everyone expected. I know the atmosphere there is pretty loud, even though it only holds 40,000, I think. But and there's only going to be 30,000 at the game. The crowd there is very loud. It is, as much as I say it's a weird over, it's a pretty normal structured over. I think it's a lot like the MCG, and it's going to be a nighttime game. So it's a bit different. It's the year to test things out. Like, if it's going to be any year, it's definitely this year. I like that they've done the nighttime grand final. I like that it's at the Gabba. I don't see too much wrong with this, personally. So, yeah.
Yeah, look, obviously I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I like me 2:30 on a Saturday arvo, one day in September type thing at the MCG. Did they make the right choice picking the Gabba? It's debatable. It was either that or, Optus Stadium. And although Optus Stadium has bigger capacity, louder noise, better feel, time will tell. So, yeah, let's just say, obviously it can't go on, the whole out of Victoria thing, because the MCG is one of a kind. But we'll see if the night grand final is a good feel for the future.
Yeah, definitely. As you touched on, if the AFL were to try something, it definitely is this year. In terms of a night grand final, the AFL would never try that in a normal year. It would make way too many fans angry. But now that they've got the opportunity, I think it's really good that they're trialing it to see if it's maybe something that we can maybe even continue into the future. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. So we'll see what happens there. But just on that, I know last episode we talked about, who we think will win the grand final or who will make the grand final. And we sort of said, it depends on where the grand final is being played. And now that we know that it's at the Gabba, has anyone's premiership favourites changed, or is it still the same regardless of
Yeah.
the oval?
Well, I think West Coast are almost officially out of the race because I've seen them play pretty poorly at the Gabba, especially against Essendon. That wasn't a very quality performance from a very quality team. And also, I think really, realistically, it goes to Geelong, Brisbane and Richmond, who I know can play the game, not just the game of footy, but the ground really well.
I watched the Brisbane Collingwood game, and I think Nick Revolt touched on it a bit. The great teams need to win games when they aren't performing well, and to beat Collingwood, for Brisbane to beat Collingwood when they weren't playing at their best is, I feel like that this just makes them like a certified good team. I didn't necessarily believe in them. I thought they were too young, too inexperienced, but they've gone through a final series last year. They've gone through a final series last year. They have the experience now, and for me, watching that Collingwood game, even though they weren't the greatest, they look like a real big contender. The grand finals at their home ground. They need to fix their goal kicking, but I definitely reckon that they are right now the number one threat in the competition.
Yeah, mate, that's a fair point. Yeah, look, there's a lot of there's a lot of different views about this one. As Josh said, the West Coast Eagles do tend to play pretty poorly outside of Optus Stadium. So look, we could say that it could be the Brisbane Lions who are the favourites because it's at the Gabba, it's their home ground, they're the most used to it. But then again, we look at their scoring shots and they don't seem to be the most efficient in terms of scoring. So look, there's still a lot to unfold. Injuries could happen, more changes could happen. Suspensions and things like this. So we'll see. We'll keep a close eye on that one and see what happens. Well, let's now move on to the footy tipping for round 16. So in the first game, we've got North Melbourne versus Port Adelaide. Josh Cuppen, who do you think will win this one?
Port Adelaide.
Connor Brown?
Port Adelaide.
Nice. James?
Port Adelaide.
Sonny?
Port Adelaide.
Sweet. And in the next game, we have St Kilda versus Hawthorn at Metricon. Josh Cuppen?
St Kilda.
Connor?
St Kilda.
James?
I'll have to go St Kilda.
Sonny?
Yes, St Kilda as well. Marwan, you didn't tell us.
Yeah, I know. I'll go St Kilda for this one, and for the previous one, I'll go Port as well, just like you guys. Next one, we've got Geelong versus Essendon at the Gabba. Josh?
I'll always back my Cats. Except for that one time.
Yeah, mate. Not your best moment. Connor?
Yeah, I'm going to back the Dons.
Oh, we've got a clash between Josh and Connor. I can feel the tension. James? I'm sorry. James?
I'm going to go Geelong.
Hang on, Sonny?
I don't know why. I have a weird suspicion that Essendon might win. Wait, where's the game at, Marwan?
Gabba.
Yep,
Yeah,
what he said.
Essendon will. I don't know why. I just have this feeling that Geelong might choke it.
Okay. Well, I think Geelong will win this one. Western Bulldogs versus West Coast Eagles at Metricon Stadium. Josh?
Ooh, tough one. I reckon the Dogs might do something here, especially since West Coast don't tend to perform at Metricon.
Okay. Yep. Connor Brown?
Nah, I'm going to back the Eagles. I think the Dogs played a good first quarter against Geelong and showed that they have good signs, but I think the Eagles are in some good form now.
Yep. James?
Yeah, just like Connor touched on. Doggies definitely, they play their brilliant football. They're a chance, but yeah, I just can't see them.
Yep.
Yeah, West Coast, yeah.
Okay. Sonny?
The Bulldogs need to win to keep their season alive, but I reckon we can get up. Just like Josh said, they don't necessarily perform away from home, West Coast. So I reckon, the Bulldogs for me.
Yeah, nice. Look, I also think like a bit of a weird one, but I think like the Bulldogs can get over the line as well. I mean, they showed some really good signs last week, and the West Coast seem to not be able to perform outside of their own stadium. So I think the Doggies as well. Let's move on to Melbourne Demons takes on the Fremantle Dockers at Kazali Stadium. Josh,
I'm going to have to go for the D's.
D's. Connor?
To keep their finals hopes alive, Melbourne are going to have to throw everything, so I'll go with the D's.
Sweet. James?
Yeah, Melbourne.
Nice. Sonny?
I reckon it might be close, but Melbourne just.
Yeah, okay. I think it'll be close as well, only because Fremantle played pretty well against Richmond, a few days ago, and Melbourne obviously had the loss against St Kilda. Against Sydney. So, just on that, do you think, Connor, I'm going to ask you because you brought this up before, do you think Melbourne will get sort of complacent with this game again, seeing as it's Fremantle, or do you think they'll switch on and bounce back?
No, as I mentioned before, I think they have to go all in, play their best team in order to, they've got GWS and Essendon left in their last two games. They can't really see Freo as a free win, as they just lost to Sydney. So I think they've got to go all in.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, sweet. Let's move on to the Adelaide Crows. The Adelaide Crows versus the GWS Giants at Adelaide Oval. Josh Cuppen.
Giants for me.
Giants. Connor?
Yeah, I'll go the Giants.
Yep. James?
Yeah, I'm going with the Giants.
Sweet. And Sonny?
Yeah, I reckon the Giants and this probably secure their place in the finals this year.
Okay, sweet. I'll go Giants as well. Next one, Metricon Stadium. We've got Carlton versus Sydney. Josh?
Ooh, Sydney keep up their form. I'm going to back the Blues. I reckon they'll throw the kitchen sink at them.
Sweet. Thanks. Connor?
Marwan, you might want to film this. I am going to back your Blues. So this is probably the first time on this podcast I've backed the Blues, but yeah.
Yes. Finally. Far out, mate. James, go.
I'm going just based off their performance last week. I think if Sydney bring that same pressure, I reckon they'll beat the Blues. So I'm going to go Sydney.
There's always that one person. I don't know who it is. It's usually Connor, but this time it's James. There's always that one person. Sonny, who do you think?
Well, there's not necessarily one person. I reckon there's two people. Because I reckon, same with James, Sydney. Carlton and Sydney are both great young teams, but Sydney's performance on the weekend was just, I reckon.
Bit of a kick in the guts, Marwan.
It is, mate. I thought. Anyway, look, I'm going for the Blues. I don't know about you guys. We'll see what happens. We'll prove you guys wrong.
Well, you do know about us because we just told you the tips.
Sonny, mate, just keep your microphone muted, thanks. Let the host do the talking, mate. Now let's move on to the last game of the round, where we've got Brisbane Lions takes on the Gold Coast Suns at the Gabba. Josh?
I reckon Gold Coast would be the worst team in it at the moment, so Brisbane.
Wow, it's a controversial call for such a little question. Okay, Connor Brown?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Brisbane.
Okay, nice. James?
Yeah, Brisbane.
Sweet. Sonny?
Brisbane will absolutely thump them, I reckon.
Thump them, you reckon? Okay, I'll go. I think it'll be close. I think Brisbane will win, though. But yeah, that concludes the tipping, and it also concludes episode 7 of the Benchwarmers podcast. On behalf of the Benchwarmers, I want to once again thank you for tuning in to episode 7, to watching us talk about the recent events that have occurred in round 15. We have some more big news. Later in the week, we're dropping an interview with one of the game's greats. Throughout the week, we had the chance to sit down and record an interview with Anthony Koutoufides, who, like I said, is one of the all-time greats of the game, and it went really well. So make sure you guys all stay tuned for that. Show this video some love by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And we look forward to you coming back to the bench and having a spell with the Benchwarmers in episode 8, where we talk about the events of round 16. Thank you all. Get back out there and get on the field and do your thing. Cheers. See ya.
Yeah.